Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sharon Go Show. The Sharon Go Show is a space where I have conversations with brilliant minds who are passionate about nutrition, wellness, and healthy living. Transform your health, you can transform your life. So today, our guest is my dear and beautiful friend, Nicole. Nicole Napolitano is a holistic health practitioner and a creative working at the intersection of wellness, community organization, the arts, and sustainability. After leaving her career in corporate of 7 years, she began to focus and further educate herself on what it means to live and embody a healthy and holistic lifestyle. She is an advocate for mental and emotional health. She teaches meditation and facilitates energy healing, practicing both as modalities to help others on their path to a harmonious life. So, Nicole, this sounds so fabulous, and thank you so much for being here and welcome. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Wow, what an intro. I'm honored to be here. I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm excited for this conversation. I think it's going to be really fun.
Wonderful, wonderful. So our topic today is mindful living. What is mindful living?
Yeah, so mindful living from my point of view is really this idea of consciousness. It's mindful and conscious living can really be used interchangeably, in my opinion. And what does it really mean to be conscious? And ultimately, it comes down to our awareness of our surroundings. So it means to be moving through life, whether it's our thoughts, our words, our actions, and doing so in a way that is with integrity and intention, and knowing that we do have an impact on other people, and how we move through life has this ripple effect. So it really is conscious living, to me, is mindful living.
Is it more than like a mindset? You think it's more than kind of like awareness and like living life more, being aware of what's going on instead of just going through it.
It's about being aware of your surroundings, and it all stems from within. You know, we can have two people who are walking through life. Maybe it looks very similar, but one person's state of mind could be very different than the other person's state of mind, and it's going to have a huge difference in the way they view their surroundings, they view their environment. So ultimately, the state of mind is what creates our reality. It's what creates our experience and our state of being.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so true because, for example, we always talking about, the word mindful is really used a lot these days, right? But I guess it can, it's in different scenarios, means different things. But to me, I think just like you said, it's so important, like just being aware, being cautious, and really kind of like pay attention to what's going on. For example, we are so overwhelmed every day with things just going by in our life, and we just get so stressed out because we just sort of like let it be, not, without being aware of like, okay, this is what's going on, and is this good for me, or is this kind of too stressful, and I need to be really aware of this, right? Being cautious, so don't let those toxic things like bother me so much, or to get involved in those things too much, and then just stay focused to what is really true and important for us, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's about checking in with yourself, which I don't think we do as much as we could do. And depending on how you grew up, whether it was, the environment that you grew up in, whether it's cultural or familial, you may not have grown up with this sense of, oh, I get to check in with myself. Let me take a temperature check to see how I'm feeling. How did that make me feel? Or if I'm feeling stressed out, can I take a moment and see what is it that is making me feel this way? To your point, we live a very fast-paced life, and we don't really take these necessary steps to make sure that we're doing okay. And so I'm really excited to see that these conversations are happening more and more and more, because mental health and emotional health are at the forefront of our industry and our country. You hear a lot how people are really suffering with their mental health, and so it's really important to have conversations of what can we then do. And I think from a society point of view, we need to normalize these ideas of mindfulness. And it's not just like taking a class. I think with meditation, depending on how you view it, people think, oh, I will go take that meditation class, almost like it's taking a dance class.
Right.
And it's so much bigger than that. The impacts and the benefits are so much bigger than treating yourself to this 30-minute experience. And I know we'll get into that more, but I think, at some point, a lot of people, whether their first meditation class they take is because they found it on ClassPass or they saw it on Instagram, it's so much bigger than that.
Yeah.
And while I'm an advocate for taking the one-off classes, what I like to preach is really building a sustainable practice that you can return to, hopefully daily, but I'll take a few days a week.
Like it's more of like a habit, right? It's like more of like a style, more of like you slowly, of course, we are all different. It means like practice also means differently for different people. But I guess it's more important, like you really create that kind of relationship, right? And for me to this kind of habit, and then it would be more beneficial. They're just like a one-time thing, or just like it's a concept, right? It's more of a practice daily.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, you take care of your physical body, right? If you go to the gym one time, you can't expect to see results from the one time.
Absolutely.
Maybe you'll feel it for the next 24 hours, but the idea is that you build and the strength comes over time. And our mind is, our brain is also an organ that can be strengthened. And there's a ton of information now. Not that it's new information, but you hear a lot more about the benefits through the lens of neuroscience, and we really can strengthen our mind, but it is a practice and it takes time to see results, but man, are they so important.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you suggest that people can practice mindful living? Like what are they? Yeah.
So this is probably going to sound like I'm going back on what I just said, but there are so many resources out there. There are so many teachers who facilitate classes, and so many studios. So if you feel intimidated by the idea of meditation, which I know a lot of people can feel that way because they have this mindset of, oh, I don't want to sit with my thoughts, it could feel scary to go inward. We're so used to sensory experience all the time that when we close our eyes and we find moments of stillness, we're a little scared of the unknown that might be there.
Yeah, so it's sort of like almost because we always intended we want to be to control things, like to know, right? And like the other day I was having lunch with a friend, and basically he just told me like he feels just like exactly what you said, like it's so difficult and challenging for him to just sit there doing nothing for 20 minutes or even for 10 minutes. It's like very scary for him. It's just like, and so definitely it's something that I guess like you said, it's like physical exercise when you get familiar with it, right? So like keep practicing, and then you understand better, about the concept and about practice itself.
Yeah, and there are so many forms of meditation too. Meditation is not a new practice. It's
Right.
actually, there are many lineages that expand thousands of years, and where I'm going to compare it to the physical like a physical movement is not every form of physical movement is going to work for everyone.
Right.
Whereas not every form of meditation might work for you. So I would say if you can find a studio or a teacher or a form of meditation that works for you, it's probably going to help you and encourage you to want to show up more. So I think your teacher is everything. And I would also say start small. You can start literally with 3 minutes a day. And for some people, 3 minutes might feel like a lot. To your point, you don't want to sit there in stillness for 3 minutes. And I think there is a misconception though that you're just sitting in quietude for 3 minutes, and that's not exactly meditation. Like I said, there's so many different forms of meditation. Personally, I am a teacher that does visualization. So we'll usually have a subject or an object, and the idea is to bring the mind to that subject and object and keep returning to it over and over again. And that's how you begin to habituate.
Do you use a mantra or something to bring them?
I personally don't use a mantra, so that is a form of meditation where you can repeat a mantra. I teach through a visualization. So let's use, for example, loving kindness, you could say, is the subject of the meditation. And what we do essentially is we focus on a time that we felt that emotion. So a lot of meditation is this resonance between our feelings and our thoughts. And it's happening throughout the day, all day, every day, this resonance. And sometimes we feel out of control, and that's when things start to spiral. So, if love is the object, on the opposite end of that maybe is pain. So if you have a thought that might trigger a past experience that was painful for you, just with your thought, you can start to embody and feel that sadness or that anxiousness. It's that's what humans do. And so we want to try to learn how to do the opposite of that. We want to try to learn, okay, if I can so quickly go to this place of pain, whatever pain feels for you, can I also go to a place of bliss just by using my mind to get there? And the idea is that we start to practice and habituate this idea that the emotion actually comes from us. So in the way I teach, through the lineage that I learned from, there's no music, there's no sensory experience. And it's a big part of it is because we want to withdraw from the senses to show ourselves that really we can achieve whatever your goal is just through your thought. So for me, I use words to guide the student through a visualization so they can start to use their mind to embody this feeling. Again, if we're using the subject of love, and sometimes what we do is we trick ourselves by recalling past memories just to get ourselves into that place of what it would feel like. And then we start to expand further and further and go into the layers. And there's so many different subjects that I teach on.
So just 1 minute, just like give us example, like you were talking about if we are working on the love subject, what kind of words that you use to guide the students or guide people through this?
So usually what I do, and the way I start off every meditation, is we don't go straight into it because that would be unfair to the student. I can't just drop into my meditation, There are people that have gotten to that level, but if you are a beginner or even intermediate, I would say the first thing we focus on is our breath. It is the easiest place to put our awareness so that we can start to get into the habit of what it looks like to return over and over and over again to one subject. So I probably should have used that as an example before love. Love is just a really fun one to play with, because who doesn't want to feel that feeling of love? And, there's so many physiological effects from having that embodiment of love. Our body actually, on a cellular level, does amazing things when our heart starts to become in resonance with our mind.
Yeah.
But let's just use the subject of breath as the meditation. You close your eyes, you start to settle into your body, and you start to just feel what is going on. You start to notice if you're holding any tension in your body that you were like, wow, I didn't even realize that, I hold a lot in my shoulders.
Like I'm stressed out in my shoulders, or your chest and tight.
Exactly. So what we do is we just start to follow the inhale and the exhale, because we don't do that while we're consciously moving throughout our day. And so we just follow the cycle over and over again, just to get used to what it's like. And usually what I'll tell my students when we're in meditation is, you might get distracted by your thoughts, but the idea is that we don't get attached to them, that they kind of just pass by like clouds, and the thoughts are always going to come. The distractions will always be there, but we don't need to identify with them.
And we don't need to kind of like really manifest that, right? Like get so involved, with
we have a lot of thoughts. We have something like a crazy number of thoughts per second.
Every day, yes.
Per second. So if you can imagine that, the idea behind meditation is to start to have ownership, to start to have control of our mind, because it ultimately, it affects our personality, it affects our mood, it affects everything. It affects, how we show up in conversations, our motivation.
It's exhausting too, because we just constantly get involved in this all kinds of thoughts, even thoughts from many, many years ago. My high school friend sent this to me, whatever. It's just so unnecessary, because so many years passed by, but it's just how our brain wired. So it's just how we are. So exactly like you said, if you do meditation, you just like you really stay focused on like what it is going on now, what is present, and what is important that you want to put your energy, right?
You really, so some of the off cushion, we'll call it, effects is you start to become very observant of the way that you talk to yourself. And personally, I always knew that I had this narrative going on, but I didn't know how to change it. And the more I sit down and try to put my attention on something else, something that feels good for me, when I'm off the cushion and that chatter starts to come back of I'm not good enough, I'm feeling sad, I'm anxious, I now observe it more than before. The mantra would be, I am anxious, I am anxious, I'm feeling anxious, over and over and over again. Where now, if I am feeling anxious, and it's not to take away from the feelings that you're feeling, because they are valid and real, but I won't allow it to spiral like I once did.
So what do you say instead? What do you say it out loud, or do you say it like just quiet, in your mind?
There are many times where I will have out loud conversations with myself.
Is it more like affirmation things, like saying opposite things? If you have negative thoughts, I stop down on those things, and you just say opposite, like I'm good, I'm enough, I'm sufficient. On those things. Is that one? how you do it?
Yeah, sometimes it really comes down to that, telling yourself, I'm okay right now. You are okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it is just going back to breathing and breathing through the moment where you're feeling really in it. And I remember that my state of mind is my choice.
Mm-hmm.
And so as the anxiousness is usually coming from something outside of me. And I remember that I have a choice to have a different experience.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll try to just sit with myself and be like, okay, where is this coming from? Why is it making me feel this way? And what can I replace instead of this anxiousness? It might not be like, I'm great. It's not like 0 to 100,
Mm-hmm.
but it just helps me to see the moment for where it is, because also a lot of times we're pulling from our past experiences. So if you have a past of anxiousness, it's going to take some time to rewire the narrative here.
Yeah.
But I'll remember, I just remind myself, we're rewriting the story here. You don't have to be anxious about that if you don't want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like I use more of a gentle tone to myself. It's really an act of being kind to myself in the moments that I'm feeling like the pain or, feeling out of control.
Yeah, to me, it also sounds like, you step back, right? Like observe what is going on with all those crazy thoughts and understand that the thoughts are just the thoughts. Thoughts are not us, the thoughts are going on. It's not just there. So you step back, you kind of like observe that, and then there, like you said, you kind of can make a decision if you want to engage or not. If something unnecessary and something not pleasant, and you might want to say, okay, I'm aware this is not what I want to get involved in and get stressed out, right? So you choose not to engage with those negative thoughts, right? So being more aware and cautious about your energy.
Absolutely. In a way, you're almost treating yourself as if you were a child. Like, would you treat a child who is having this very challenging moment? Would you be like, why don't you need to snap out of it? Like, you would be, no, you'd be kind to them and you'd be like, you're okay. And in all of us, even though we're adults, we still have this inner child inside of us. We can.
I love that. Like I love that. Like be gentle with yourself. Like we all need that, right? So especially with all this negative craziness things, challenges in life, and you just sort of like really, it's like you that's how you will treat your best friend. If you see best friend suffering from something and you wanted to be gentle with her or him, and you wanted to be loving and helpful and supportive, and I think that's one you mad about, like how you want to be with yourself as well, where you are going through all the difficulties.
I think ultimately that is the greatest act of self-care or self-love that you can give yourself, is being kind to yourself. And as someone who was not for many years, I was really trapped in my own mental afflictions, and it's still a practice. Sometimes the kindness is the practice. Sometimes my meditation practice is just being kind to myself.
That's so important. That's beautifully said. So wonderful. Yeah, I totally can relate to that. And then we all need that. It seems like it's easier for us to be kind to others, but it's not. We are not always kind to ourselves, right? It's always like we are the ones who actually ignore ourselves. Like if you see a friend suffering, you just get so compassionate and want to support, want to give love and all that, and thinking about like how to really help that person. But while we are suffering ourselves, we just sort of like we don't really have that habit of like loving yourself just like the way you love your best friends or your family. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like with the example of love, like that's what we'll practice in the love meditation. We first start with ourselves and then we layer out to other people. And we go as far as extending it to people that you already love, but then the challenge is really extending love to people who have hurt you or people you disagree with. And it becomes a really interesting practice to see if you can get to that level of extending compassion and kindness to someone that maybe has harmed you in the past. But that's where the mind is just an incredible vessel. Is we are capable of so much more than we think, and to love is no simple feat. So it's really interesting what you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to ask you, like, for example, I have a friend and very motivated, and we have those sort of things, like we have a to-do list every day, and then we want to push ourselves and to get all these things done. But some days, and if we cannot achieve those things, we just feel so bad, like angry with ourselves, and just kind of like disappointed. How do you? What kind of suggestions do you have for my friend or for people who are in that kind of mindset, like we have a goal that we really need to work hard to achieve that goal, and there's some days we don't really finish what we're supposed to finish, then we're mad about ourselves and just feel sad and angry. What are
Yeah.
you? Yeah,
Absolutely. I think what I would say to that is just remember that, and I use this metaphor a lot, the day you plant the seed is not the day the flower blooms. This is a process, and you can look at everything from day to day, but honestly, sometimes you need to take it hour by hour. And when I say that this is a practice, I'm serious. Like it really is a moment to moment checking in with ourselves, because we're gonna do that. We're gonna beat ourselves up and we're gonna get disappointed with ourselves. But I say, if you have a goal in mind or something that you want to attain that feels like it's in a future state, don't give up on it. Don't give up on yourself. This is you showing up every day with a mindset of, I did the best I could today. And maybe that was just taking care of your physical health. And maybe it had nothing to do, or like maybe it was you gave yourself a nourishing meal. I think we need to, I don't want to say lower the bar, but I think we need to rejoice more on the things that we did get done. That's also a habitual pattern, is focusing on what did I get done today.
Right. Focus
I said,
on what is working,
exactly,
instead of what is not working, right?
Yep.
And also like remember to really appreciate that we have done, instead of like being so harsh about ourselves, about the things that we missed that day or we did not do it perfectly, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is another from the lineage I studied under. It's called rejoicing, and it's this idea that we do take a look at the last 24 hours or the last week or month, and we look for the things that we are proud of, the things that we did do. I mean, seriously, it could be holding the door for someone else, and it might feel like, what does that have to do with me getting my dream job?
Right.
But it's an act of service. And again, what we're doing here is we're going back to our state of mind. And when we can start to think about the things that we've done, whether they were for ourselves or somebody else, we start to feel something. And the feeling is ultimately what we're going for. And then it might just give you in that moment a sense of peace that you're looking for. And again, if the opposite of the peace was disappointment, I think you said,
yeah,
you know, that's what we're going for. Like, if there's two sides of the coin, there's always another opportunity to feel different. You know, if everything is truly like empty in its nature, what could it be? What could disappointment look like if I took a second to just acknowledge all that I did do? So that's what I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's like you said at the very beginning, it's really a matter of choice. If you choose to focus on what is not working, there's always be something going wrong, you know.
Yeah.
And then if you choose what is working, what is good, then you just start paying attention to that, and then you will be able to really enjoy small things, even like you said, just holding a door for somebody, right? Just like
Yeah.
small things, like you'll be able to feel happy about it because your focus switched, and then things just started looking and feeling much better just because of your mindset, because of your focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm sure we've all come across the person that just always seems happy. And you're like, how are you happy? There's so,
Yeah.
there's so much going on in the world. Da, da, da. And who do you want to be? Do you want to be the person that is looking for the joy in the small moments? Or do you want to be the person that's going around that is just nitpicking everything and finding all of the reasons to be unhappy? Happiness, it ultimately is a choice. And I know that sounds so corny, but
it is so true though.
yeah, it is, and it's a practice that I have to, that I'm still working on.
Yeah, me too. Okay, wow, this is wonderful, and thank you so much for sharing all this your thoughts and your ideas, your practice with us. It sounds wonderful. Thank you so much, Nicole. So, if people want to follow you, what is your Instagram or social media?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. I teach. I have an Instagram channel, so I'm teaching weekly, and it's Nick, NIC 3_Nap, NAP, and that's probably the best way to connect with me.